Come on in, welcome to my home. Today, I thought I'd do something unusual. This is going to be a three-part video because I know this is going to get long. So, as I was cleaning out my house this week, I was thinking about all the videos that I had done and all the things that I have. And as I was getting rid of stuff, I was thinking back about how many of these things am I getting rid of have I talked about on this channel, and how many of the things I've talked about on this channel do I still have and use? So that's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to do a three-part series which is going to be about the things that I still have and use, the things that I still do, and the things that I still make. Now, this one's going to be a really long one, so let's jump into it because a lot of the things that I've shown you on this channel, I still have, and I still use them. Let's go for it. One of the things that I talked about many years ago were clothing size hangers. And what these were is they were just clothing sizes that you put onto, your hanger, so that way you can see what size the item is. As I've been gaining weight, losing weight again, that's been interesting so that I know which size clothes are which, and so I know what to grab, that sort of thing. And it's really handy. If you have, like, children who share a closet, people who share a closet, you can just tell what size things are just by looking at the hangers, and it makes life so much easier. Especially if you do have extra size things, or things which sometimes fit at certain times or certain moments. It is really nice to be able to grab that item and know that this is what size it is. And it's a great way to organize things. So this was one of my first things. Who doesn't like to fall asleep on a nice set of sheets? And when I talked about sheets many years ago, I talked about the sheets that I still have. These sheets right here are those very sheets because I got good sheets that weren't overly priced. They weren't the 700 or 800 count sheets. They were at a reasonable place to get sheets, and I still have them. I've taken care of my sheets, and I've talked about that in different videos. I've shown you cleaning motivation videos, but one of the things about this is, yes, having something which is of good quality, it doesn't have to be expensive, but if you take care of it, it can last for a long time. And like I said, these sheets are one of those. I absolutely think that you should get the best quality that you can reasonably afford, and this was it. I didn't break the bank with these, still have them, they're still going strong, so that's a good thing. In my kitchen, I have two things. I've talked about them a lot. You've seen them in a lot of videos. And I'm going to put them together as their own thing, which is my mixer and my bread maker. The mixer you have seen almost from the very beginning of this channel, simply because it is a KitchenAid mixer. I love this thing. The only thing which I've ever had to do with this is I bought the glass bowl. Why did I buy the glass bowl? Because I do these videos. If it weren't for doing these videos, I would have just stuck with the silver, stainless steel bowl that it comes with, simply because it is big enough. It's big enough to make the things that I want to make. It's strong. I have used it to make things like marshmallows, where the mixer is going for, I think, 12 minutes. And it just works really well. And I mean, I think some of these videos are now 6 years old, so this mixer has been with me for a long time. Now, my Cuisinart bread maker is newer, but it gets just as much work out because not only does it make bread, but it also makes my mocha syrup, which is something I still make a lot of. And it's so nice to use. Having a bread maker to do all of those things just makes life so much easier. I do recommend the bread maker, and in that same video, I talked about something else. I talked about my blender. Still have the same blender. It has not changed in all of these years. It is the Oster blender. I do believe I got that at Walmart at the time. Because it was what I could afford. I've treated it well, washed everything still by hand. At the time I was washing it in my dishwasher. Now I just don't, simply because it's easier that way. But I still have it. It is a wonderful blender. It works really well, makes up great smoothies, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, hey, since it works, why would I get rid of it? Also in that, is my food processor. My food processor, once again, has been with me through thick and thin. It has done a lot of things. It has done everything from peanut butter to it actually was making my laundry detergent there for a while. We will talk about laundry detergent in another video, but it was one of those things where it was so easy to use. It still is easy to use, and I love the fact that I still have it, and you do see it is showing up in videos periodically. If you check out other videos, which all the videos will be linked down below in the description. Don't know if I'll link the card. I know I can't link all the cards because there's going to be way more videos than there are spots for the cards. But these are things that I've used, and I still have them. So I can say 100% recommend these items because they've been around for a while. Alright, let's talk about the first thing on this list that's not still around. The idea book. Now, the idea book didn't completely evaporate. No, it changed. When I first started off with an idea book, it was literally just that. A place for me to write down my ideas and to keep track of those things when an idea popped up into my mind or some recipes, that sort of thing. I could write them all down in the idea book. Well, that didn't keep up. But we're going to put a pin in that. And we're going to come back to this whole idea book. But that'll come in a minute. The next thing which didn't last, well, those were the Rubbermaid lunch blocks or lunch boxes. Because what they were is they were Rubbermaid lunch kits for kids. And even though I did give them to a family that had children, everyone said the same thing. They were small. They were really, really small. And so you could only put in a sandwich that had two pieces of bread, maybe some lunch meat and some cheese. Not much else. And there wasn't much room for anything else. The little cold pack that it came with it was really nice, and the fact that they did stick together, they would click together was nice, but it just was too small. So yeah, that was something that I did not keep, could not use, and even the family that I gave it to said that they didn't really use it because of the size. Some things you just keep. You just keep around with you because it's easy to do. One of the things that I did keep, the throw pillows that I just put inside of a pillowcase and folded it up and made it into a nice pillowcase cover or a nice throw cushion cover. Those I still do. I still use those all the time. In fact, as you can see, I've expanded the repertoire to the point now where it's just like I would find a nice pillowcase and be like, hey, I could turn that into a nice throw pillow cover and then use it also on my bed or as a pillowcase or a pillow sham. Really nice and easy and wonderful to do. This is one of those things where once you figure it out that, hey, I can do this, and they're reasonable. They're really, when you look at pillowcases are pretty cheap. So being able to do this was really easy. The next one, which was really cool, should have thought about this before, was taking an old shirt and turning that into a pillowcase or a throw pillow cover. That one was so simple. So 2 lines on it, and then you just use the shirt as the pillowcase cover. Yeah. It was one of those really easy things to do, and if you buy matching shirts, you can then have all sorts of brand new pillowcases. They don't take up that much space, and your throw pillow covers can look however you want them. And the cool part about this also is the fact that you can buy shirts the exact size that you need. And let's face it, for buying a button-up shirt, you can find all sorts of prints and styles and all those things that will just match your aesthetic, and there you have it. Something which looks really cool. The next one still goes along with this, and this is how the whole pillowcase thing came about, is if you buy a sheet set that is just the pillowcases, a flat sheet, and a fitted sheet, well, that gives you can take the fitted sheet and use that as material for different things, but the flat sheet can then become curtains. Yes, using flat sheets as curtains was the one thing that I absolutely thought was just wonderful. And if you put fray check on that spot that you cut, it won't fray. It won't fray one tiny little bit. You can hang them up, and they're pretty darn cheap, so that way you can have lots of different curtains. You can use them as curtains, you can use them as drapes, you can use them as whatever you want. If you've been following this channel anytime, you'll notice in the background that those things show up every once in a while simply because I've kept them. I've kept them all this time and use them sporadically because they're a good investment. I'm not spending a ton of money on them, and they're really nice to have around. And I can change out my house, change out the entire look with just buying something as simple as a sheet set. Still do that. Yes, I'm one of those weird people who likes to do laundry. Remember all those cleaning motivation videos? Well, one of the things that I still use are the dryer balls. I have found that they do reduce static cling, they help things dry faster, and no, they don't make a ton of noise in my dryer. Still use them, still enjoy them, they don't harm the dryer whatsoever. I'm still allergic to wool, so yes, I still use the plastic one simply because that's what I've got. I like them. I probably use more than one or more than the set, simply because they dry things faster, and it is so easy to do. So that was one of those recommendations that I absolutely loved. You'll have to ignore the barking dog, and if you're wondering why I'm out in my garage, it's because of these. This was one of the earlier attempts at doing the painted bottles, simply because, well, I still use them, and somewhere in that Halloween stuff, there are the rest of these. I use them all the time, simply because they're really, really cool. They lasted all these years. It makes a nice way to create different colors in something really easy as using Mod Podge, which, let's face it, Mod Podge is really simple to get a hold of. Food coloring is simple to get a hold of. Paint it in the jar and you have a colored jar, and those can be so valuable. And when you're done with it, you can wash it out, or you can just leave it and let it do its own thing. Now what's interesting about this is this was as I was learning how to do this and realizing you have to rotate it and all those fun things. But even this one I still put out in the background simply because it's a great color. Let me tell you a little story about my love-hate relationship with soda makers. I've had two, the SodaStream and Sodalogoy, and this is one of those cases where at first I absolutely love them. I still think that they're great and think that they're wonderful, but I think I'm the wrong person for them. Let me explain. They both work really well. They both work wonderfully well. In fact, of the two of them, I think I like the Sodalogoy a little bit more. But here's where the problem comes. It had nothing to do with not being able to find the flavors, or nothing to do with it not doing exactly what I wanted it to do. It had to do with refilling the canisters. And that was one of those great cases where this is why I'm doing this video, because when you test something out, you can get a great idea of how well it works, but you can't get a great idea of how well it continues to work until you continue to use it. And that's what happened. So, okay, cool. I've continued to use the SodaStream and the Sodalogoy, then the canisters emptied, and I had to figure out how to refill them, and that was not as easy as one would think. Because in my area, one of the things that Sodalogoy, I do believe, said that they could do, you could send the canister in. Well, of course, my nearest UPS store is 45 miles away. Yeah, now I could have returned my SodaStream canisters to the store and gotten a new one. However, that was just as convoluted, because you then had to take it up to the front of the store, go back into the store, get the new one, pay for it. It was just this whole process. While the things actually worked well, the problem was the process of getting to that point was just not worth it. Not worth it at all, in my opinion. So that was where, if you have the ability to exchange them really quickly, and I have a feeling if I lived in a different spot in a bigger city, it wouldn't be a hassle. But here where I live, it was a hassle. So that was a no for me on both of those. Alright, one of the cool things I still use, they're still there, are the faux wooden boxes. Once again, simplicity at its best. Covering a box with just contact paper which looks like wood, can you really go wrong with that? It is a simple idea, it looks nice, it's not like I'm really trying to make it look like it's truly wood. It just distracts from the fact that, you know, it's a cardboard box filled with stuff. I do really like them. I've had them now for years. The contact paper has not come off. They are very sturdy. Of course, they're banker's boxes, which make them even, you know, they're meant to be filled with stuff. So it was one of those easy things to do, easy things to make. If I ever decide I want to change it, I can change it. I can change it however I want. And the cool part about this is it was one of those things where just, you know, you put it in there and you forget about it. Because they are contact paper, if they get dirty on the outside, I can just wipe it off. When they don't really attract dog hair, which, let's face it, I have a corgi, and she loves to shed another corgi almost every day. And so they don't attract hair, they're just a nice way to cover up a box that you're going to actually use. Still love that stuff. It is my go-to shower soap. I'm one of these people who there for a while was going to use it as my dishwashing soap. And it's expensive. I'll be honest with it. It's expensive. I still think it does a really good job, but I'm not going to spend that kind of money to then just, you know, wash dishes with it. So I do use it in the shower as a shower gel still to this day. But it's one of those things where, you know, hey, if you like something and you still want to use it, cool. I have tried other shower gels. I've tried all those things. One of the things which I do not like is I do not want to come out of my shower smelling like some sort of tropical something or some sort of athletic sandalwood musketeer. No, just let me come out smelling clean. I thought the Doc Bronners come out smelling clean. I have done the different scents, and I'm stuck with now unscented for quite a while. It's one of those things where it's easy to get a hold of, and it's one of my luxuries that I indulge myself with. Okay, if you saw my nightly, or is it my morning routine? I think it's my morning routine. Yeah, you know I still have my Kindle. You know I still use my Kindle all the time. I read on it all the time. Read on it? Is that right? Yeah, I'm sure that's right. I use it all the time. I think it's great. I do have Kindle Unlimited, so that way I can see the free books. It's like $10 or $11 a month, and you get access to a whole bunch of books. And since I read a lot, I can see all sorts of different books. Then when I want to buy a book, I can buy books. It's just one of those really cool things. I've also used it a couple times at the library to borrow books from the library simply because they can do that. They can do those sort of things. Yep, use it all the time. I would recommend it. So after all these years, it's still going. So can we talk mason jars? Mason jars, ball jars, those guys. Yep, still use them. Still use them all the time, simply because they're one of those really easy things that I can just go and put stuff in. When I'm done with stuff in them, I can wash them, reseal them, reuse them. It is my go-to thing versus plasticware, that sort of thing, simply because they're cheap, they're wonderful, and they're very eco-friendly, I guess you would say. I would say that you have to be careful not to break them. I've seen people saying that they carry them as, you know, with their lunches and everything in them. Not sure I do that. Not sure I do that at all. But for this, I love this. This is one of those great things. And after all these years, I still think it's a good idea. And I have tons of them. Yes, tons of them. When it comes to those things that seem like a good idea, and you keep going back to it, and then you keep not using it, that's me in scales. When it comes to scales, I know for a fact that scales are great. Scales are wonderful. You know, if you want to have your recipes come out exactly the same, weigh your stuff. However, in principle and in practice, I don't use them. I really don't, and I feel bad about that. And I keep getting new scales, and people send me scales to test out, and they all work. They work wonderfully, but if I'm not actually using it, it doesn't matter how well it works. It's just something that I don't use. And so it was one of those great cases where I did the video, and I can honestly say the video, they do work. They work really, really well. However, I don't use them. So the scales that I have, and I still have, I guess they're going to go. Yeah, I think it's time. I really do. But if you really want to make your food come out really well, you can use a scale. You can make, like, you'll have recipes come out exactly the same. But the problem is you also have to then convert every recipe which is done in cups into ounces or grams or whatever it is that you are using, because if you don't, it just becomes hard. It's one of those things, and I personally don't find it worth it. So scales, while they work really well, not something I actually use. Every once in a while some fad comes along that everybody's into. Air fryers, to me, are a fad. Let me explain my whole disdain for air fryers. It's not disdain, it's just like, for me it didn't work because, one, I live in a 3-room condo. I mean, so they're pretty good sized rooms. However, air fryers can push out a lot of heat. And I don't know if you can tell this right now, but outside it is 90 degrees, probably 91 by now. And it is roasting in here. If I were to use the air fryer right now, that would be bad. It got really, really hot. And I mean really hot. And they're big, and they're bulky. And, well, you know, while the air fryer was a nice thing, it did what it was supposed to do. Just for my lifestyle and the way I work, I got rid of it. I did. I gave it to my brother and sister-in-law. They, I guess, love it. They think it's great. But they also have a bigger house and more space. So storing the air fryer is something you need to think about with everything that you get. You need to think about, do you have the space for it? And is it going to generate heat? And I had the opposite problem in the winter. In the winter, when it kicked on, it would generate a whole bunch of heat, which would heat up the house, or at least the room, but it would also turn the thermostat, because I have a thermostat which will go on and off. Well, you know how thermostats work, but it would kick it off. So the rest of the house would be freezing, while this room would be warm, because that's the kitchen right there, and that's not a good thing. Was not happy about that. And also, it also spread, even though they say they don't, I think it gave you that whole whatever you were cooking smelled throughout the entire house. That was the experience that I had with the air fryer, so you might have had a better experience. This is another one of those I'm not going to dig out to show you, but if you saw my last Christmas video, you would know that, yep, still use the frosted luminaires, still love them, planning on making more because they're a really easy thing to do. They look really cool, and then when you put, like, I use battery-operated lights in them. You can use whatever. They look excellent. I mean excellent. I'm also looking at getting some of the lights, the different color lights that you can put in, so that way I can use them at different times and have it glow in different ways, but that's beside the point, getting ahead of myself. I love the luminaires. The luminaires, I think, were one of the best things that I have done. I've sealed them up. Now, they do have a tendency to have some of the salt come off of it, but if you put a sealer on it, it sticks, it stays, it's worth the effort. I enjoy that. Painter's tape. If you've, even if you've looked around as we've been doing this video, you will notice that there's painter's tape. I still use the whole painter's tape idea. In fact, I did a video for a Kickstarter for where they did a painter's tape roll thing that you could actually then just have it right there. Love using the painter's tape in the kitchen, label everything with painter's tape, or I take the label from the package and then just stick that on there with packing tape. It works, like I said. Painter's tape is one of those things where it's really nice, and the other part about this is you can take the painter's tape off with no problem. So if you use the jar for something that you're only going to use it for once, then you want to wash the jar, you do not have a sticky residue on there. The painter's tape comes off, It's great. You can reuse the jar with nothing on it. I loved it. I really did. Remember a while ago where I said put a pin in that whole idea book thing? Well, I brought it back, sort of. I brought it back in the form of a bullet journal. And at the time, I loved bullet journaling. I thought bullet journaling would be the end-all be-all for everything that I wanted to accomplish. And guess what? It still sorta is. However, you're going to have to put a pin in this one too, but this one's going to have to go on to the next video because bullet journaling it's not just the journal, it's the act of bullet journaling. And I've just done a video about bullet journaling, but the cool part about this is I didn't get rid of the bullet journal. The bullet journal just changes. But I really, truly enjoy bullet journaling, and it's one of those things that it really helps me keep organized, even on days like today. Okay, let's talk about this one. When there was the fad of the Instapot, and I do say fad, I do mean fad, for a while everybody was using an Instapot to make everything in, and this was a version of that which was a pressure cooker slash slow cooker, and it was going to be the end-all be-all. And I said this in the review, I found some problems. One of the biggest problems was the fact that the seal that it used for the pressure cooker absorbed any scent of what it was cooking. Did not like that. I did not like that at all. The other part about this is no matter how you do it, no matter how many different times I tried it, it still did not have the same flavor as using a crock pot or a slow cooker or whatever you have, simply because if you want that slow cooked flavor, you really do need to slow cook it. It's not a matter of just forcing the flavor into or the juices into the item. It's also the way the item is cooked, the way something is prepared. It didn't, to me, work the same way. Yes, you could get a similar taste to it, but for what it was, I did not think that the pressure cooker or the pressure cooker slash slow cooker combination was all that great. And yeah, it went away. That was another one of those items that I did not keep. And I still have my slow cookers. In fact, I have like 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them, in different sizes, simply because if I'm cooking something big, I'll put it in something big. But I was not going to waste my time and effort. And the other thing about this is, when you release the steam from the pressure cooker, it has to go somewhere. And a lot of times you don't have enough room to release the steam in an area where it can just go, because a pressure cooker on a stove, you can release the steam and it usually goes up onto the fan or that sort of thing. But when you're putting it on the counter, you release the steam, it usually hits the upper cabinets, and they don't like that much. So pressure cooker slow cooker combination was not a fan. Okay, we're back out in the garage because this one was more of a game changer than I thought it would be. This garage light is so bright. In fact, right now, that's what's lighting this whole thing up. It's lighting my garage up at nighttime. It works wonderfully. I thought that this was great. So far, cousins have gotten one of these. I do believe my brother has one. Mom has one. Because love this light. This is just, I mean, look at this. The garage is really well lit up. This is the shadow. That's the shadow from the camera, which is right in front of me. But it was one of those things where I didn't think, well, you know, garage light isn't going to change anything. I can come out here any time of day, any time of night, and this garage is, oh, it's great. I love it, but highly recommend it. That was one of the best investments I'd gotten. All right, let's talk the vacuum sealer. The vacuum sealer did exactly what it was supposed to do. It's sealed, it works, it's wonderful. Do I use it? No. No, I don't. Do I still have it? Yes, I do. The problem with it is it's in a weird place. It's another one of those things where if you had a lot of room and you could then like pull it out easily and that sort of thing, I probably would use it all the time. But the fact that the only place that we can keep it is on top of my mom's refrigerator, And yeah, no, that's just annoying because then you have to climb and get it down, and it's messy. Yeah, not really. Would I recommend it? Yes, if you have room for it. Highly recommend it. I think it works really well. But the problem, like I said, the problem is it comes to a space situation. And I think you're going to find that with a lot of things, especially I know in this video as I was making it, it came down to a lot of space, and I did not have a lot of space. Okay, so today I thought I would end with the desk. It is probably one of the things which changed this room the most. And I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. Even though I did end up buying a keyboard tray for it, it's still wonderful. I do need to buy a computer. I do need to fix this room up. But the desk was wonderful. It works for me, and it's just one of those things. Now, I know that there are probably a lot of things which I absolutely forgot about or just didn't have time to do. I know one of the big things which I did not include in this was the jerky gun that I used for making the beef jerky. That was one of the reasons I didn't use it. I didn't include it is because it doesn't have basically its own video or really where I really talk about it. And there are other things which I did not talk about. But this video is really long, and I know it's really long. If there's something that you want me to, if you want to ask me about, let me know down in the comments. This was one of those things that I hope is really helpful, and I hope that you come back for the next one where you see what things I still do. And I know that comes up in here, but what things do I still do that I've talked about, and what things do I no longer do? Because I think that's really important for YouTubers to actually be honest about the whole, hey, here's this product, use it, it was great, and then they don't use it themselves. That's sort of bad, but this way I can show you what I'm still using, and I can also tell you why I'm not using it or why I am using it. If I forgot something, let me know down in the comments. I'd like to take this time to thank these wonderful people who are my patrons who help me make great videos like this. This one was one of those fun videos where it just came to me as I was doing things. But we talk about these things in Patreon, and they help me decide what's going to come up in the next video. Also in Patreon, you get access to these videos a couple weeks early, so that's always a fun thing. If you are not interested in Patreon, don't forget, if you like this video, to like and share it. That helps the YouTube algorithm know that I should be doing more of these sorts of videos and gets the word around. If there's something that you'd like to see me make, talk about, try, let me know down in the comments. And I hope I get to see you the next time you stop by.